Which of these two molecules has more atoms? Firstly, great problem-solving tip. Whenever we have to find differences between molecules, we want to identify and eliminate what's the same between them, because it's simply a distraction. Now our problem is easier to manage, and we can now dissect and unpack what remains. In other words, we'll convert these regions from bond line to Lewis structure. We do that by identifying carbons as ends and bends, based on how many bonds are currently visible or lack thereof. It will tell us how many hydrogens each carbon has that we don't see. In this case, each of the bends already has 4 bonds accounted for, but each of our end carbons in this molecule has 3 hydrogens to meet the 4 bond requirement, and it becomes clear which molecule has more atoms. Thus, B is our answer. Using the same set of molecules, which respective carbon is more positive? As with the last question, we could ignore the R groups because they're identical, and illustrating the Lewis structures will help us solve this. That's because it's crystal clear what atoms are directly bonding to our carbon of interest, and we can assess the polarity of these bonds, and hence the charge of these carbons of interest. This one's directly attached to 3 oxygens, and this one's directly attached to 3 carbons. Now we can use the electronegativity values of each element in play. Electronegativity is the ability of an atom within a chemical bond to attract electrons to itself. So oxygen's pull of electrons, it's much greater than carbon's pull. This means there's going to be a dipole on each of these CO bonds with this electronegativity difference, whereas these CC bonds, by definition, will have no polarity. As a result, this carbon will be partially positive because the electrons were skewing towards the oxygen, whereas here it's essentially static. The electrons are equally distributed. So as a result, this is partially positive and this is electrically neutral. So A is our answer. This carbon is more positive than this carbon. Question 3. Which of these molecules has the formula C11H14? Recognizing that carbons are the ends and bends, we can count them up for each molecule and realize that A is wrong because it has 1 carbon too few. Then, with the remaining 2 molecules, we add in the correct number of hydrogens based on the fact that carbon needs 4 bonds. So because this carbon right here, for example, has 3 sticks that we see, 3 bonds that we see, it's only going to have 1 hydrogen to meet the 4 bond requirement. And with Lewis structures, you can see things can get pretty jumbled, but the reason that we're doing it is that it clearly tells us how many atoms and of each kind make up the entire molecule. And here, this has got 16 hydrogens and this has 14, which means that the C molecule is our answer.